Islam does not hate on divorcees. Certain things impact a child's life, and I just didn't want to do that to my son. I can't lie, it hit me very hard. It was very hard, and I think it even affected like the marriage quite a lot at that point. Dating apps are not bad. They're not what you guys think they are. They're not for hookups. They're not for becoming boyfriend, girlfriend. It's not that.
Welcome to Couch Convos, and today we have our very first guest.
I'm Aisha, I'm 31. I'm a content creator and a proud single mom.
So how did you kind of get into content creation?
It started off just as a little thing that I did on the side, like it was just a hobby. I started by doing fitness videos. Anytime I'd go to the gym, I'd just post it. I'm not a trained personal trainer, but I picked it up quite quickly and I got really into it. And I just thought, you know what, I don't see enough like Muslim sisters, hijabi sisters, like in the gym. So let me just create a platform where they can sort of look at me and think, oh, I can do this too, and create things that's easy to follow. It slowly started getting into like fashion, cooking. I do a bit of everything on there now. I started doing some travel videos too. So if I went on holiday, I've started talking recently about the fact that I'm a single mum, whereas before I didn't, just start with the fear of reactions from public, because people can have so many things and questions to say. But Alhamdulillah, my audience have been amazing. Like everyone was so supportive about it. So now I've got a page of like loads of different sort of content basically in there.
So it sounds like a mix of content you have. So you said you started posting your son. What kind of stopped you from posting before?
So unfortunately, and this is like the harsh reality, I'm Pakistani, and as a Pakistani woman and Muslim woman, you get a lot of questions coming your way about why you're a single mom. And unfortunately, sometimes people like to point fingers at the woman and say it was your fault, or ask really personal questions. And on top of that, my son's got a disability, so I didn't want people to be really like asking so many things like what happened, or the worst thing is like make fun of him, because you do get really...
Have you come across people that make...
I have had once, I think, a little bit of his face shown. And I mean, he's a 9-year-old boy and they all have funny teeth at one age. Like we all go through like the really big goofy teeth.
I used to be called Goofy.
So we've all had the really goofy stage, and he's going through that. And somebody said, oh my God, what's wrong with your son's teeth? Like that's really ugly. And I just thought, oh my goodness. So I don't choose to share his face.
Did you just hide it now?
I just hide it with emojis, or I cover it with a cloud.
Did you respond to that person?
No. Do you know what? I don't like to respond to hate, because it's going to come to you. Regardless of what I say, there's never going to be a time where somebody's going to be like, you can't have everyone on your side, basically. People love to criticize and ask very, what you'd like to say, inner questions in your life, like just get really involved. So I don't tend to respond really. My mum is on my Instagram a lot all the time. She's always replying to my stories. And she's the biggest like supporter of mine, and all my family are too. But they understood my fear about whether I wanted to show I was a mother or a divorcee. So they did understand, but the day that I did it, it was a big step for me. I do this thing on Instagram story where you can ask a question, and I just thought, I'm going to put my questions out, and if somebody asks me, have you ever been married? That's my point, to just say, yes, I was, and I have a son. But nobody had actually asked me this question, because everyone assumed I was single.
Honestly, when I first met you, I thought you were like student, like in your 20s, in her 30s. I was like, no.
So a lot of people assumed that. And then when I put that my son was there, I did it with like a little picture of me and him, but hid his face again. And I did say that due to like, I don't want people to put evil eye on on him, on my life in that sort of way. So I'll let you know a bit of my personal life, but not enough to see my family members' faces like that, especially my son anyway. So but my followers were really amazing. They were actually like, we look up to you even more now, like this is even more amazing.
Do you regret it or anything, or are you just like, I'm proud?
No, I don't. I'm really proud of it. Now that I've done it, I thought, why didn't I do it earlier? Because I think it gives a little bit more depth to a person, if you get what I mean. This was what everybody needed to sort of know about me, to just take my Instagram, that one step like forward in growing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really regret it at all.
On Instagram, people like portray this picture perfect life, that they literally live their best life and there's nothing wrong with anyone, you know?
No.
So I think it's amazing that you have, like you show people, hey, I'm just a normal person.
Yeah.
And like,
Very.
this is normal. Like going
Definitely.
through relationships that you thought that was going to work, that didn't end up working, that is fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like in the Muslim community, you're very judged upon, like you
100%.
said, right? Females get it harder.
100%.
Oh, it was the female's fault.
Yeah. I do believe men do have it hard too, but I just feel like women have it that little bit harder. We struggle that little bit more.
What do you think like needs to change within our kind of society and even our community, right? Like what needs to change?
You know what? The funny thing is, I think it's mindset. It's not got anything to do with religion. Islam does not hate on divorcees or women who have children at all. In fact, it's a sunnah to marry a divorcee and a woman with a child. I think it's all got to do with culture. Culture changes mindsets, culture changes everything. Thing is, the new generation have no issue with it really, but it's their parents that will have the issue, and their parents or their relatives, and it's the older generations that seem to have more issues with. Like in Pakistani culture, I can 100% say it was definitely not a thing for divorcees to get married again or be considered eligible for marriage. And it's always looked down upon. I'm thankful, Alhamdulillah, as time has gone on, mindsets have changed a lot more than 10 years ago or so.
Why do we think that though? Like, why is the older generation more like, divorced women can't get married again? I think partly the reason is that they feel like they're used.
Yes,
they've been
exactly
used
it. That's exactly the thing. So, to be honest, I got married very young. So,
what age?
I got married at 17.
Okay, was that your choice? Was it like a love marriage?
It was kind of just family arrangement sort of marriage. And I think I was just very young at that point. So, I just agreed to it. I wasn't a typical 17-year-old. I had responsibilities of looking after my sisters. My mum is also a divorcee who got married again, and she's had children after that as well. And mashallah, my stepdad's amazing. I just sort of thought, okay, this is what I have to do. Like, this is better for me in a good situation. I didn't want to struggle in finding a hand in marriage because I'm thinking, my mum, even though my mum is married again, Alhamdulillah, happily married, but being a child of a divorcee can sometimes even cause a problem.
Yeah.
Back then. Now this was like back in 2008, 2009. But unfortunately at that point I was just like, you know what, I'll do what I have to do, even though I was young. And yeah, I got married to actually somebody in my family who is now happily married as well.
Do you guys still communicate?
Yeah, we do. We're on, he's an amazing father. Honestly, he's actually an amazing father. Good. We have very good communication. He's a good man. He really is. Eventually, as we grew older, we realised that there wasn't much of a compatibility and that's why things didn't work out. But because we've got a child from this, I was always adamant that we stay good. And also because family, I don't like to break families up either. Yeah. So I wanted him to make us to work well together, and we do. Amazingly, we can actually have a conversation like friends now, and we can be around in the same room on occasions and have banter with each other or whatever. And I've even met his wife. She's lovely. We actually can have a conversation. There's no awkwardness. It's because I think when you realise that your child is important, and for my son to see that his dad, his mum, and even his stepmother can get along and there's love between them all, in a way that they care and it's genuine, it helps.
He's going to notice these things.
Exactly.
If it was a toxic relationship with, thank God it isn't, he's now going to grow around with that kind of love.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like role models. We're all role models for him. So he'll stay with me some days of the week and he gets to see that, okay, mommy can still have a conversation with daddy and that's okay. And he will sometimes say mommy and daddy love me. And I said, of course we do. We all love you. And actually you've got so much more love because you've got two mummies and you've got I say all of that stuff to him. So, and he's really happy with that. And in fact, it shows that if you keep away the toxicness and the toxic mentalities away, a child does better, and he has been doing better at school since everything has. So, you know, Alhamdulillah, the fact that me and my ex-husband talk is a big, like, oh my goodness, in Pakistani culture, it's just not heard of. You don't generally hear of divorcees still talking to
even
one
in
another.
South Asian culture, like, it's so nice, Alhamdulillah, to hear that you know, you and your ex-partner communicate amazingly. Both of you decided, you know what, we're not compatible, but we're going to work at it for our child, and that's the most important thing.
I work with children as a part-time job that I do on the side, so I already was very aware of like child development and how certain things impact a child's life, and I just didn't want to do that to my son.
And everything ended, did you kind of think to yourself, right, that's it for me, I'm done, like no more kind of marriage, relationships?
No, because I'm a bit of a hopeless romantic. So I'm in love with the idea of love. So I'm always like, I'll find somebody one day.
Yeah, well, it's good to have a positive attitude. You'll be like, you know what, no, men are trash, like, forget them, like.
Do you know what, because he wasn't, maybe because my ex-husband wasn't trash.
No, that's,
maybe because of that, I wasn't like, yeah, men are trash. I think when it ended, I did think to myself, I have to give myself time to sort of heal from everything. I even took up therapy because I thought
how was that?
It was life-changing, the best thing I've ever done. So I was the type of personality, if somebody tells me their problems, I carry it, and it carries as weight on my shoulders, and it stays in my head, and then suddenly I am now suffering because somebody else told me their story, because I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a horrible place to be. But now I'm in the horrible place. So I was taught so many things of how to deal with emotions, how to like section them in your brain, and how to cope with life and the difficulties, and appreciate how far I have actually come in life, and how many, like, as my therapist used to like to say, flames you've walked through and managed to come standing up at the end of it. So like for me, that was life-changing. The idea of needing a therapist, I thought, I'm not some crazy person. Why would I need... In my head, I used to think that. Again, that's mindset. I changed my mindset and I thought, I want to better myself, to be a better mum, to be a better woman in my life, to be a better sister, daughter, friend, whatever. And I thought, you know, the best way to do it is to take up therapy, deal with whatever is in my head and clear it out. And I did it for 6 weeks. And after that, I was fine. Like, they did offer if you need any more, and I was like, I'm good, you know. It's a new day. And on top of that, for me, gym, I've started taking up boxing. So gym and boxing is my therapy too. Like, without that, I don't think I would cope.
Because I think like a lot of people, just when they go through like even breakups, failed relationships, they just kind of suffer alone. So I think getting therapy and just like normalizing, like, guys, this is normal. Like,
it's very normal. I've actually encouraged every single person in my family to go and get therapy. Not that they need it. Yeah, they have. I actually managed to get a few people onto it. Not that they need it, but I think everybody goes through something at some point in life where it might be so far back, but they've not realized that they need to
heal from it.
Yeah, they just need to talk about it. Some matters can be too personal to share with like friends or family, so go and talk to somebody about it where it's not going to go further than that. So it's fantastic. I recommend it to everyone.
Amazing. And then obviously once therapy was done, did you feel like I'm ready to kind of look for love or be open to the idea of it?
Once therapy was done, I did like sort of think, okay, you know what, I do want to, while I'm still like in my 30s, I was like, I would like to look for someone, and then I did like start joining dating apps, and then
what particular dating app did you join?
I definitely joined Muzz. I did, and then I kind of had to take a break from it because to be honest, it was a good experience. I haven't had like any sort of terrible experience on it. I did have my family who were like, we're ready to get involved if you need us at any point. Like, we can find someone for you, which I just said to them, that's fine, keep it open on the side if you need to. Because I was, for me, my family are not the type to turn around and be like, we found someone, you have to marry him, off you go. It was always going to be my choice. So it was all right. It wasn't too bad, the experience of dating apps, to be honest.
So one thing that I don't understand is, why is there such a stigma around dating apps in the Muslim community. I mean, look, we know everyone's on it.
Yeah.
Your neighbour, your cousin, they're all on it. But it's like, shh, like, no, it's embarrassing. Like,
I don't.
What is the problem?
You know what? I really don't understand, because I know a lot of friends that have actually got married to somebody they met on Muzz. I know about 3 couples. 3, maybe 4 people who married through Muzz. So I was just like, because I asked, I was like, how did you meet? Because they're from London and she's from Manchester, or whatever way around. And they're like, Muzz. And I was like, fantastic. Like, you know, even in my own family, I'm pretty sure I've got somebody who's met in Muzz. So, you know, it is, but I don't know why the stigma is attached. But then again, I think, again, it comes to mindset of people and families. Like, if your family are open mindset, like my aunties and uncles sit down with me and be like, join a dating app, like get yourself back out there. I think the stigma is because of idea of meeting someone without the family being involved. But you do get people out there who are like, from the get-go, I want to get family involved, which is also fine, but not everybody is okay with that. Me personally, I don't know how, I will always tell my mum 100%. So that's for me and my family. I don't need to tell anyone else. Like, if I was to find someone and get family involved, like, that's individual choice, if you get what I mean.
People think like meeting someone online, like, oh my gosh, like how embarrassing. But where are you meant to find people? I'm sorry, but like, where am I going to find this guy? Like, Corona happened, and like, where did you meet people? Like, where did you get to meet guys? I mean, I couldn't meet someone on a walk. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's honestly, it's true. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, for me, people have even asked me, like, would you ever use Instagram? Like, some people do.
I've had people
like, people have met people through DMs. Me personally, no.
Yeah, no. Instagram, no.
Like, Instagram, no. But I think that's because as a content creator, it's just, you open up a big world of so many people, and filtering through who's the right person is just a bit too much. But I honestly, I don't know where you're supposed to meet someone. So dating apps are the way forward. I think the most people that I've ever known, like any of my friends who were single and now they're married, they've all been on Muzz, they've all been on dating apps, and they've also, and if they haven't met through Muzz, they met through family friends. But you can't always rely out there. Like, there's actually some women out there and men who don't have family anymore. Like,
don't have a big circle.
Or they might not even have family in London, and they might be back home. So how is that person supposed to find someone? Because to be honest with you, in London, everyone's so busy. Nobody looks at each other for a split second. You're literally walking around with your head down. Everybody's in their phones. You're not going to meet your future husband on the tube.
I think Muzz allows you to connect with people that you never thought you were going to connect with, right?
I think conversations need to be had. That's it. Conversations need to be had, because a lot of parents expect maybe, I mean, this has become something that has become more acceptable. We take it back like 12 years ago, maybe not. But a lot of parents expect that your child goes to college and they go to uni, and then in uni maybe they'll find someone. But not everybody finds somebody in uni.
Some people are working at uni, guys, you know, trying to get that degree. They were paying 9K for.
Yeah, exactly.
And your parents want you to find love. I don't think so.
Exactly. So it needs to become more acceptable that, you know, to parents that, look, it's that time and I now want to find someone, and rather than going through these like Rishta Aunties, which is more what I think a lot of Asians do, go through somebody who they'll pay and she'll find like on a database of somebody. But these aunties basically have a database of all these men and all these women, age and everything, what they like to call their biodata. I find that word so funny. It's like I'm picking someone for an interview. I'm like, oh, this candidate is good for the job.
Do you know what's the maddest thing? Their CVs.
Yeah,
like they'll have their CV.
I'm like, oh, this is my future husband's CV.
Like, one of my uncles was like, look, I've got someone's CV. I was like, what? Like, fully, like marriage CV.
Yeah, it's a marriage CV basically.
Wow, okay.
So it comes with all the information. I'm literally crying. It comes with all the information. And then what they do is, according to what these aunties in their brain think is compatible. I know friends who have used these aunties, and
how was it for them?
It didn't work. I don't think they work personally. I don't know, maybe it depends on these aunties' mentality, like how they think. But it's just...
I think they're not really getting to the like nitty gritty. No. Like, how are you just randomly putting two people together?
No, they literally are just, they're like showing the girl's picture and saying, what do you think of her face? Do you like it? Do you think it's good?
Yeah.
And then all read up about her and she's like, oh, I don't know, like, okay. And then they'll meet, but there's no like thought, there's no chat. It's just too, I feel like dating apps are so much easier because it's more cash. Yeah. It's just easier, no pressure.
It's on your terms.
Exactly.
You know?
It's on your terms, there's no pressure. You can choose to meet straight away or within 3 to 4 weeks. But however you want to go about it.
Or start with a phone call.
Exactly.
You know, it's on your terms. Like, oh, if you don't like someone, cool, I'm going to block.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep it moving.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I know that a lot of people use other methods, but I think more conversations just need to be had about dating apps and that they're not what... I think people think dating apps are for like hookups.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Yeah, and I think that starts from like old dating apps, but I think that's what they think, that there's, it's just used for men and women who just want to have a hookup, that's it.
Like if you go to the other person you're talking to, you know what, my intention is to get married.
Yeah.
Like, if you're willing to date to marry, I'm cool.
I've literally started conversations like that, and if you don't like me, go.
Yeah, block me, onto the next,
literally, you know? Unmatch me, I'm good with it. I don't take it personally.
Yeah.
If that's what you're looking for, go look for it.
Yeah, that's fine, but not me. See ya. There's other apps.
Yeah,
there won't be named.
Yeah, literally. To be honest, I think like it's conversations that have to happen within families, and it's an idea that has to be brought forward to parents of like older generations. It's not a bad thing. Dating apps are not bad. They're not what you guys think they are. They're not for hookups. They're not for becoming boyfriend, girlfriend. It's not that.
Because when they hear dating, you're just dating.
They're like, so you're trying to find a boyfriend, are you? Yeah, you do that, basically.
No, it's true. It's not as like that bad. Okay, so moving swiftly on. So marriage, kind of from your past experience, what have you kind of learned from it?
I think in marriage you have to have like compromise. I know people like, this is just everyone says compromise, but it's true. And I think communication is so important, and I don't think people understand like how important, and I'm talking about there's no question that's too stupid to ask one another. Communication is super important, and if that's not there, it's going to be really hard for you to make anything work. If you like to go out 4 times a week or 3 times a week, or go out with your girls very often, and he doesn't really, your future husband's like, let's have one day in. There's compromises that have to be made. Like he will have to pull back on something and you might have to pull back, because you're like, I can see this person as my husband, or I can see this person as my wife, and this is what I don't mind changing for them. Like in Pakistani culture, usually the woman moves to where the man is. But if it's like, I don't know, her job is fantastic and she really can't move or whatever, and he's willing to compromise and move into an area that she's from, that's a compromise that has to be made. So definitely the two that for me I think is really important: communication and compromise, and love. Love is so important. I know it's so silly it sounds silly to say, and you would debate about, obviously you must be in love with the person that you marry, but it's not necessary. Some people do marry for just compatibility and not for love, and then they like hopefully will fall in love, and it can happen. You can fall in love, but love is very important. Like understanding each other's love languages. Like very this important. Is something that's only come about recently. Like back in 2009, nobody spoke about that love language. You're in love or you're not.
It's true.
That's it. But now there's love languages, and it's true.
Yeah, and then you fully understand a person's love language.
Exactly.
Like, you're like a physical. Is it physical?
Yeah, physical touch or words of affirmation.
Yeah.
If you're a person, imagine you're a person who doesn't like physical touch, and he's all about physical touch. You're just like, this is not going to work, because you're going to annoy me for the rest of my life. So understanding things like that is very important. So love languages, compromising, and communication. For me, I think that would be like my biggest advice. And I advise my friends who are looking to get married or about to get married that please just remember that you guys have fallen in love and you're going to get married. But don't let this love fizzle out. Like still make an effort for him. He'll make an effort for you. Like even vice versa. keep it alive. But the only way you're going to keep it alive is if you remember that there's love there. Because sometimes some people are like, oh, we've been married for 8 years now, we can't be bothered to make any effort for each other. And it's very important to. If you're feeling a little bit down about something, just say it. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Because how are they going to know?
Exactly. Like, one thing, men and women are not mind readers. I can't read minds, and men are definitely not mind readers.
It's like, when you're grumpy, tell me.
Yes,
what's wrong? I can't read.
I'm fine. And that's on a text. Like, you're like, what does fine mean? And you're like, oh my God, is he fine or is he
what
fine?
What have I done? Is something wrong?
Exactly. Like, talk. And I mean, not text, but talk to face-to-face conversations are important, because you're only going to read a text according to what mood you're in. If I'm annoyed and I'm reading your message and you're saying I'm good, I'll be like, is she saying I'm good? Or is she saying I'm good?
How is she saying
like, I'm good, and you're dismissive. Like, it's exactly like that. So actually communicating with one another, giving each other time to spend time together is very important. Like, it's very easy to get caught up in the world and finances and managing your life and juggling all of that, but it's very important to just be there, be each other's best friend.
So like, obviously with you being a single mum, what other kind of extra things would you think, I need to consider this before thinking this man is going to be in my life?
Okay, so I definitely look at a man and I think, are you going to be a good fatherly role model?
But ultimately a father as well, because you will be,
exactly.
You know?
So do you have that love for children? To be honest, even if you don't have a child, that's something you have to look at. You have to look at that man and thinking, do I want my children looking at this man and thinking that's going to be their dad? So even though I've got a child of my own, I do think, okay, is he good with children? Does he pay attention to the idea that I have a child? I heard somewhere on a video the other day, and somebody said it, and it was a really negative thing to say about women who have children. But they're like, oh, you don't marry a woman who's got a child because all she's going to do is give her child time. It's not like that. Like, it's definitely not like, it was a very stupid, it was some like blogger I had seen on some stupid social media like website or something, and I was just like, what a silly thing to say. And I thought, I hope people out there don't actually believe what this man's saying, what's coming out of his mouth, because it's not true. I want to be able to see that he's got good like morals and like is family orientated. That's the sort of things that I would look for. Like, if you're both single and you've got no children, you get to go through a whole honeymoon phase. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't be able to go through a honeymoon phase. Alhamdulillah, I've got family around, so I could do the whole honeymoon phase 100%. But usually you're like, oh, let's spend a year or 2 years to get to know each other, and then we'll have children, and then you deal with responsibility. So is he good as an independent man? Can he, like, doesn't mean that he has to be living on his own beforehand. He could be living with the parents, but do you have a sense of being independent? Because now you're going to be a responsible person for another human who's already here. So you have to, like, we're on stage 2 already at the get-go. Like,
and you have to think not just about myself, but about my child as well.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And about making them happy.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, I would, for me, like, introducing my child to a potential person, I wouldn't do it from the get-go, but I would do it like much further when I'm sure that this person's going to be my husband. Like, that's the stage that I've always said that I would. But some people just decide otherwise. Some people think, no, let me show it from the get-go, which is fine also, each to their own. But it just makes you just have to make sure that the person is just understand the responsibility, basically.
So obviously religion plays a big factor in who we are. What would you kind of say is a quote or a hadith that you kind of stick by and is like, you know what, this is my go-to that kind of keeps me going?
I mean, there is the one that Allah makes everyone in pairs. He created you in pairs. And also the idea that Allah has written your name again next to somebody already. It's just about finding that person and crossing paths. So that has always played some sort of part in my head that, okay, if I haven't found this person yet, the person will come. Time, like, there will be time. Like, there will be a time where I will come across this person, and I keep my faith very strong in Allah, and I leave Him to guide me in everything in life.
I think one of like my favourite ones is like, someone was like, with hardship comes ease.
Yes, 100%.
And it's like, it's true, like, you might be going through something.
100%.
You know, a year ago, and then, you know, Allah makes it easier for you. Like,
100%.
I taught you this lesson because, you know, you needed to kind of learn.
Yeah.
And
it's true, but I know this because I've been through hardships, and with hardship does come ease.
Yes.
Like there was ease after my hardship, and then I had more hardship, and then there'll be ease. I know, because I've had the ease. So now, and Allah will constantly keep giving you hardship
to test you,
like to test you and to remind you that He's there, and so that you don't forget Him, and you do pray to Him. I always pray and ask from Allah for everything, guidance, and to ease any hardships in my life. If something didn't work out, Allah was protecting you from it, something. Even if, like, I say it to the most tiny things, like if your car didn't start in the morning and you didn't get to leave at 9 a.m. and you got to leave at 10, I was like, Allah was stopping you from going to that. Like, but you were protected from harm. So if a relationship doesn't work out with somebody, it's because Allah's protecting you. He knows that this person was not going to be good for you, or he's not good for you right now. There could be two things, but either way, it's for your benefit, basically.
You briefly touched on that your son is disabled. So was that from birth, or did you find out later on?
No, so my son was born premature. He was born 5 weeks premature. And he was a tiny 3 pounds when he was born, 3 pound 10. When he was in hospital, then everything was fine. They said that he was a little soldier, a little fighter, Alhamdulillah, which he was, because he managed to get home within a week, which usually they would keep you for 5 weeks if that's how long early you were born. But he was home by 1 week. I think because I have worked with children from a young age, and I've always been into childcare and things like that, I was noticing that he was a little bit slow on certain things, like pulling himself up to stand. And I was like, something's just off, like, but I did take into consideration the fact that he's 1 month early, so that can play a part, because I have a sister who was actually born 3 months premature.
Oh wow.
And she was born at 1 pound.
Oh wow.
She was literally this big.
Oh my god.
Head to toe. Now she's taller than me. And she's like 14 now, 15.
Wow.
So yeah, she's fine, absolutely fine. But with my son, he was just a bit delayed. With talking as well, with a lot of things, and I was just like, something's not right. So when he was around 2 years old, they kept saying to us, that health visitors kept saying, you have to wait till he's 2, because we give every child until 2 years to start walking or whatever, because he hadn't started walking even on his first birthday. He was literally sliding on his bottom around or something.
So you noticed this quite early on?
Yeah, so he was like just sliding on his tummy like a slug everywhere, but he just wasn't sort of doing any pulling to stand or any, and we had everything. I had everything for him to use to do all of that. He had to have an MRI scan done when he was 2, and they found out that he has a part of his brain which is called the cerebellum, which is like at the back of your head. Naturally, the cerebellum gets smaller every 10 years. His was already very small. He's diagnosed with something called cerebellar ataxia. It's a rare genetic disease, but anybody who's got a small cerebellum, or some children who aren't born with one, they have different sort of outcomes. So it doesn't affect every child the same way. So that's why it was very tricky to understand it. Neurologist had told us he will never walk. Like, he's never going to walk, which was very hard news to hear. Obviously, you dream of your child like playing football and cricket and all of that. So
how did you feel when you...
I can't lie, it hit me very hard. It was very hard, and I think it even affected like the marriage quite a lot at that point when I was married. Basically, they told us that he's not going to walk. And I was like, what, even with a walker? And they were like, no, not going to happen. But something in me was saying, I'm sure he could. If I put his head, like, I'm going to make this happen. So we started getting referred to therapists. The thing is, with cerebellar ataxia, it affects his language, so his speaking. So when he went to school, he started school, reception, nursery, he was only saying and not talking. So eventually, through speech and language therapist, he's now able to communicate. He can now talk. Learning, he's still probably at at what, a 3-year-old stages or 2, he probably won't be able to write ever in his life because his hand-eye coordination is not that great. He can hold things. If you look at him, you'd think he's a normal boy, like there's nothing wrong with him. But it's only when he goes and now he stands in a walker and he can actually walk independently with the walker.
And what did they say at the beginning?
They said he wouldn't. But the thing is, they were like, stick him in a wheelchair. And that's it for life. And I said, I'm not sticking him in a wheelchair. One thing I won't do is put my son, because I said, is there anything wrong with his muscles? They said no. I said, is there anything wrong with his bones? They said no. I said, well, then if his muscles are working, why should I make him lazy? He needs to start using them. So I started to make him walk in his walker, built up strength in his arms, in his legs. And first he had to be guided everywhere with the walker. But now he's speeding. I take him to Westfield or anywhere, he's running ahead. This July, just before we broke up for summer holidays, he took 3 steps independently without any walker. Actually took steps, like these were his first steps, and I actually cried the whole way home on the phone to my mum. I was like, he's walking, he's just started. So it was the best news ever. But this was just me, like, what did the neurologist say to me back then? She said, it's not going to happen. He's never going to walk. But the fact that he took those steps, those 3 steps meant everything. So they're saying to me that he could potentially go into crutches in adult life if he learns to balance a bit better. So from not being able to walk to using a walker to taking 3 independent steps to now to potentially using crutches, which would be fantastic.
That's amazing, alhamdulillah.
So alhamdulillah, like through perseverance and keeping his confidence up, and the school that he's at is fantastic.
And you don't know what the future can hold. They said all of this and you proved all of them wrong.
100%. So you don't believe what the doctors say ever in that case. Even now, there'll be times like he has to go up the stairs. He's like, don't hold me, don't touch me. And he wants to go up the stairs by himself. And sometimes now I can walk with him with just one hand. And he will just walk down the high street with me, just holding one hand. We walk a bit slower than normal, but we walk. And his dad does it with him too all the time. So alhamdulillah, we've got a lot of family around that encourage his independence, and he tries to be very independent now, so it's fantastic.
That's amazing.
So yeah,
that's like miracles.
I know, 100% miracles can happen.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Make sure you follow Aisha. Where can they find you?
On Instagram, on Aish_fitness.
And make sure you like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Bye.